News and awareness don't stop, not even on a holiday weekend. And it gets pretty serious when there's some foods that just got recalled that you guys could be eating today. That's right, the recalls don't stop. Brand new batch. Almost feels like big corporations are trying to take us out. All at the same time as they're taking out family farms where we actually get some good stuff. Got even more. Surcharges on shipping we're gonna talk about. Something about a warning on an auto reboot that wipes out devices after 3 days on your phone. Update on the entire island, Puerto Rico blackout, and I got some insider information on that. Very, very interesting. Got some stuff on big, huge meta corporations. They're saying they're robbing all the resources from people like us. And another thing you guys are not gonna like, a huge shakeup in the airlines. I'm talking about no more boarding passes, no more ID, no more passports. AI might be taking over. Also, you won't believe what I just found out, what they're doing to the port. Information that affects you coming right up. My name is Cohen from Riverside Homestead, and if you're brand new here, welcome. If you guys are interested in prepping tips and most importantly, news and awareness, keeping you up to date, be sure to hit that notification bell and start this off with a like. Let's get going. All right, did a bunch of digging trying to find some good news. I did come up with something. Before we get into the crazy stuff, Newsweek reporting Putin announces an Easter truce. Like I said, good news. Could be worse, right? Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Saturday an Easter truce for Moscow's war against Ukraine. There's your small chunk of good news. Now let's go to the alarming stuff. All right, first and foremost, because this might affect you today, because it's Sunday. Everybody's gonna be eating some food today. Active recalls on butter, ground beef, and more to be aware of right now. How many people today you think are having some butter or some ground beef? Probably a lot. All right, so what you need to know before we get to some of this other rattling stuff, it says, and remember, if you guys missed my last few videos, I have covered so many recalls, new recalls every single day that I didn't cover the day before. They're on like the last 4 videos I've done. So in this case, butter, approximately 1,701 pounds of butter sold in 7 states is being recalled according to the U.S. Drug Administration, the FDA. The recalled butter contains elevated levels of coliform. As I said before, you can't make this stuff up. It just seems like it continues to get worse. If you guys don't know, that is a bacteria found in human and animal feces. This is in your butter? Butter, be careful. All right, so this product is affecting 8-ounce packages of Cobot creamy premium butter, sea salted. The butter was packaged at 2 4-ounce sticks. It's the kind most people buy. And it's got that UPC code right there. And I know you want to know if you're in the state. It says sold at grocery stores in the following states: Arkansas, Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. And at that rate, like I always say, if those states got it, who knows? I imagine some other states probably got it too. I wouldn't risk it. So anyway, as you guys possibly could be feasting today, you guys might want to check that out. And this one just popped up right in here. I might as well cover it too. Cold and flu medicine. I know a lot of folks out there are sick. 14,000 boxes of over-the-counter cold and flu medicine. This is due to the lack of child-resistant packaging. So if you guys are concerned about that, you might want to check that out. Moving right on to ground beef. Lean ground beef is being recalled in Canada due to E. coli contamination per a recent Canadian Food Inspection Agency report. For all of our Canadian friends up there, watch out for Aladdin's Food Grocery Store and Butchery in London, Ontario. And you can see the dates there that it was sold. The recalled ground beef is tested positive for E. coli, so no suspicion, it's actually in there, which is going to lead to probably a lot of issues. You can see a phone number right there to call. Also, might as well hit this too, pasta, also in Canada. Man, Canada's all of a sudden on the map with recalls. 2 types of pasta are being recalled nationwide due to the presence of insects, according to the CFIA. Packages of Fior spaghetti and durum wheat semolina pasta with a UPC code of that right there. And they're also saying, if you didn't know, earlier this month there was a sausage recall. Johnsonville issued a recall in their cheddar bratwurst product, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Food and Safety Inspection Service. So if you guys picked up Johnsonville cheddar bratwurst packages, make sure you check into that. Moving right along, we've got a lot of stuff. Packaging increase on shipping. We've got a cell phone warning. Your stuff could be wiped out in 3 days. Huge shakeup in airlines and travel regarding ditching the ID. Now, at the same time as these huge corporations, and we got issues with beef and Costco meat, from salmon to pork to beef, all that. This is what California is doing. Just shut down a dozen family farms and slapped a gag order on the farmers, is what this post says from Jim Ferguson. It says, in Point Rise, multi-generational ranchers are being forced off their land. No cows, no farming, and no voice. How does that make you feel? Put it down in the comments. I read a lot of comments and people say they're trying to take over the food. They're trying to take over the land. It says they weren't even allowed to tell communities what was happening. They're calling it gag orders, forced agreements, $30 million to erase a way of life. You guys know what that means? Ferguson says half of Marin County's dairies gone. Local beef and milk producers crushed. It says environmental groups are seizing control and the state is letting it happen. Now, I tell you guys all the time, we give you a really safe option at switchwithrhl.com for beef and your consumer goods. But I also tell you, if you can't do that, go shop to your local farmers. Support these guys that are trying to do it right. Well, they're catching on and they're pulling the rug out from these guys. It's just not fair. In this post, it says, this isn't about nature, it's about power. A planned erasure of local food systems, independence, and rural heritage. Do you guys agree? Hit the thumbs up if you guys agree. And tell me what you think in the comments. And this is why I say support local, support American made, and family owned business. Because farms feed freedom. Without them, they're just renting on land we used to own. He says, stand up for farmers, stand up for food freedom, and stop the land grabs. Hear it from the locals.
Right now, there's a fight going on in Point Reyes. They just shut down a dozen farms, just like that. It's a fight that was going on for the last 8 years, really doubled down on those farmers 2 years ago, and they put a gag order on them, so they couldn't even ask the community to stand up for them.
So they went out like they shut them down, meaning they
done.
Can't even have cows or anything?
They've got to move off the property. They've been there for over 100 years. Those dairies started in 1857. And a lot of the same families have been there the whole time. Our local RCD even came up with money to upgrade the ranches if needed. And the environmental group said no thanks. They wanted to take the land over, and so they forced these farmers to sign an agreement that are pushing them all out. So we're going to lose half of our dairies in Marin County and a bunch of the beef ranches that provide local food.
So where can they go to find out more information about what's going on with these 12 farms, or is there anywhere?
There's not a lot of places. Marin Independent Journal, has done a good job reporting about it. My Instagram, Shalina93 Racing, they can find information. My sister, Dairy Girl Diaries, is on there. America Unwon has been doing a phenomenal job about reporting. Albert Strauss Creamery, they're very involved because they're going to lose 15% of their organic milk supply.
Oh, wow.
From this. Oh, yeah, it's huge. It's a huge hit to the local food.
So what's going on? I mean, you Google it, AI will tell you that there is conflict and settlements reached between National Park Services and environmental groups and the ranchers. Bottom line, we're losing our local farmers. Now, like I said, it's important to support farmers, support American-made, non-toxic, and support family-owned. Because if we don't, you're not gonna get fresh caught salmon and seafood anymore, because it's already switching to farm-raised. And we're not talking about the natural farms. These things have to be given so many antibiotics, so many things to try to keep them from not being sick. What happens is you go to Costco and you can actually see, I don't know if that's a worm, parasite, but you can watch it moving around, swimming around underneath the package. The color of the fish ain't even real. Mark my words, stuff's gonna come fake like this. They're gonna sugarcoat everything, trying to make it taste better than it really should, most likely with toxic stuff that's not natural. And the beef and the chicken is gonna come from some kind of lab. That's the direction it's going. That's why it's important to support family owned. Before I tell you about your cell phones getting wiped out, we gotta talk about FedEx's new surcharge that's leaving people shocked. So yeah, just found out FedEx is adding a sneaky fee for packages from China, Hong Kong, and Philippines starting May 2nd. If you shop or ship internationally, you'll want to check those details or risk the surprise of the charges. They're saying even third-party shipping is not safe. They're saying even small sellers and frequent online shoppers, be on the lookout or your wallet's gonna feel the pain. Okay, quickly going through this. We still got to talk about what's happening at the airport, AI, ID. You won't believe what the Zuck is doing to local housing communities. But first, they're telling Android users warned of new auto reboot setting that wipes devices after 3 days. This could stress out a lot of folks. So it says check for security updates now. This comes from The Sun, a verified publisher. Android users have been warned to check their settings after a new security feature that will auto restart devices. So this new change is part of an effort to stop hackers from getting their hands on sensitive information stored on phones. And the downside is they might wipe your whole cell phone clean of all of its data. If this happens, a lot of people ticked off. Anyway, if you guys are concerned about that, just wanting to scratch the surface, you can deep dive that on your own. Now, I've got some interesting information about the big, huge Puerto Rico blackout chaos. Literally leaving 1.4 million people without power just before Easter weekend. Everyone was furious, especially locals without generators. I called lots of family and friends down there, and I'll tell you what, Puerto Ricans, a power outage ain't a new thing. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to prepping, Puerto Ricans got a lot of Americans beat because this type of stuff happens to them all the time, and most of them are prepared. Now, I've made a few phone calls, and from what I've heard, I think most places are back up and running. But here's the word on the street. Check this out. So the word on the street possibly is, and this has happened before, I don't know if it was government employees or just employees in general, but they were very upset that they did not have the week off for Easter because it's a big deal. When it comes to days off and holidays down in Puerto Rico, they don't mess around. Everybody's looking forward to having a good time. And you'd have to verify this. If we got any Puerto Ricans out there, let me know in the comments what you heard. But they said, if we don't get the week off, we're gonna cut the power. Don't worry, it'll be back on by Friday when the real holiday starts. And get this, for a lot of places, it came back on Thursday night, after everything was shut down for the prior couple days. Now, they had a very similar situation with the same type of buzz on the street back during the election time. Apparently something happened that they didn't like, and from what I remember, that was the last time the entire island went out. Well, not cold, because it's actually pretty warm down. In some cases, it might be, the public flexing on who really has control. As I said, if you got insight on that, put that in the comments so I can check that out. Now, this is really interesting. You got the Zuck recently built a massive data center for Meta in Georgia, right? There's a lot of people that are very unhappy about this. They said there are residential homes just 100 yards away. It says it uses so much water, residents no longer have water pressure in their homes. It says their sinks, no water, no longer works. It says their toilets don't even fill up with water. Their homes physically shake from the constant new construction. The data center uses so much power, they often go without power. And they say the small amount of water they do get is full of sediment. In quotes, someone said it's really overwhelming because you really feel like you are up against this huge wall that you cannot penetrate. There's nothing that you can do, and they don't care. Anyway, if you guys are in that local area and can confirm this story, let us know in the comments. And if that's the case, I have a warning for Idaho because it looks like you might be next on the hit list. It says they are in the process of building a data center outside of Boise, Idaho. Residents in the area have the same concerns. Look, folks, this is the turn of the era. Everything's going big corporate companies. They're gonna try to push out all the locals, and these monster companies are gonna get even more monstrous, and they're gonna just take over and squeeze everyone out. And then guess what? We will be at the mercy of what they give us and whatever they charge us for. This is why I'm a huge advocate of supporting local, because our money is what funds those things. Keep that in mind. All right, 2 more things to talk about. One, where our ID is going. Check this out.
New airport rules plan to get rid of boarding passes and check in and go fully digital. The way it works, passengers would download a biometric passport on their phone, drop off their luggage, and go through security after a face scan. Then you'd board the plane without showing your ticket or a passport at all. But what does that all mean for your privacy? Let's ask Kurt, the cyber guy. He joins us now. Katie on the staff here went through, she said, in Dubai. They just looked right at her. Boom, she goes in. So this is happening some places already. Should we be nervous? I mean, that feels kind of like a pretty big step.
And that's a good point right there, folks, is you're seeing data breaches left and right. I talked about one just the other day regarding the insurance company, everybody's social security. There was almost 2 million people that all their personal information, like vital and personal information, was just gone. And what really happens? Nothing. We just lose our identity, more fraud. This type of thing, I'm sure, will be much worse than better for us.
Personal facial recognition data safe that matches to our credentials. It is what people are calling the biggest shakeup in the airline industry in at least 50 years. Airlines and airports doing away over the next 3 years with the check-in process, as well as scanning a boarding pass. That'll all go away. A biometric digital travel credential will be created, or you could use your smartphone. It's going to show your face to a scanner when you enter the airport, and boom, you're in, just like Clay was saying. And this is, this digital travel credential will carry everything. It'll have your passport on it. It'll have your driver's license on it. It'll have your ticket on it. And it'll also understand your flight information to know if you're in the right place at the right time. Well, this is expected to radically shorten the amount of time you need at the airport. But again, a lot of questions about who's going to be in control of this data. We already know that all they're telling us, Clay, is that as far as what you and I scan in, that when we go to the airport and we scan our faces, that within 15 seconds, our data is going to be wiped from that reader. But what about on the other end? Who's controlling all of that? There are a lot of unanswered questions.
Now, I want some feedback in the comments on this, because this has got some people boiling. Now, with work, I have to travel all the time. And if some of you guys travel a lot, you already know that some of this is being implemented. They're doing baby steps. Like right before you board the plane, you don't even have to, you literally walk up and you get scanned, and they say it's gonna disappear in 15 seconds. To me, that's he said, she said. Next thing we know, millions of people, data breach, social security numbers, full facial scans, lost. That's what I think is going to happen. But is there anything that we can do about it? There is the aspect of making things, I mean, it's a cluster when you go through airports these days. You guys know it's messy because it's just so busy. And having this type of technology would make it a lot quicker, a lot faster. But at what cost? And how does that concern you? Let me know down in the comments. But as I've said before, that is the way of the future unless it gets stopped. And honestly, I don't know. Is it better or is it worse? Don't necessarily trust all of AI, and I don't trust everything going to electronic. But at the same time, there's a lot of conveniences that come along the way. But like I said, at what cost? Now, this is a warning on pork, and I haven't really deep dove it, but this is what's going around. This is the buzz. Pork in America is being fed drugs so toxic, they're even illegal in China, which at this rate, we already know that half of the stuff in our grocery stores is illegal in Europe. That's clearly been coming out. So this is probably true, but I would need to verify it. But like I said, but this is the buzz. But in quotes, it says, there is a drug, ractopamine, that's banned or restricted in 160 countries. But guess where it's legal? The good old USA. And like I've said before, RFK Jr., I know that he's trying to tackle a lot of this stuff, and he's getting somewhere in a lot of areas. I'm not sure if he's on to this one yet. Over 80% of pigs eat this drug in America. Also in quotes, it says, big food companies found out that if they feed it to the pigs, they grow bigger, fatter, faster. Now they put it in the feed, and over 80% of the pigs in America are eating this drug. Now, like I said, to protect myself, I don't know if this is true. You gotta validate it, but I have a sneaky hunch it is. And the problem is there's been over 250,000 adverse effects reported in the pigs that are eating this drug. So to wrap this up, it says in half of the cases, the pigs were sickened or killed. And many of these pigs develop side effects called downers, where they become so fat that they're unable to stand up and walk. Now, we know that similar stuff happens with chickens. They plump them up and they've got to take them out before it's too late. It sounds like the same thing. So China not even allow it? That's crazy. It says, so in China, feeding ractopamine, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, to pigs is banned. In Russia, it's banned. And in Europe Union, it's banned. But here in America, it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're saying it's banned in China for use in pork production. China prohibits its use in livestock due to concerns about health risks and has strict regulations against ractopamine residues in imported pork. This has led to trade restrictions on the U.S. pork as some American producers use the additive. Back to what I said, you got to do your research, support the farmers that are going to sell you the stuff that doesn't have this garbage. Anyway, I probably went long. Got a couple other videos up here if you found this one interesting. A lot more good information. Stay tuned. Please share this out if you found it informative. Make sure the notification bell is still clicked on on to all because you guys don't want to miss what I got coming down the pipe next. Keep prepping, keep learning, keep doing. We'll see you on the next one.